In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row. And so starts the poem that is recited so many times at this time of year at many of our schools and cenotaphs, because it is a poem that was created by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae of the First World War. And he was a former resident of Guelph, Ontario, which is very close to where I am here. Hi, I'm Coach Libby Pease, and this is my video on Remembrance Day in Canada and Veterans Day in the United States. Throughout this video, I'm going to share with you some footage of many of the cenotaphs in our local area, as well as some family photos of individuals who served in the First or Second World War. So a little bit about the history. Remembrance Day and Veterans Day are commemorated on November the 11th at the 11th hour. And the reason for this is that throughout the Commonwealth, it was the commemoration of the end of the First World War on November the 11th, 1918, through the signing of the Armistice. And this signing was actually signed at before 6 a.m., even though it is commemorated now at 11 a.m., to show that, you know, we were so close to that edge of disaster at the 11th hour. Since the first commemoration of Armistice, there have been many Remembrance Days and many Veterans Days, and now they commemorate more than just the First World War. In Canada, we commemorate the First World War, the Korean War, the Afghanistan War, as well as many peacekeeping missions that our soldiers have participated in. In the United States, there are so many more. So what's the difference between Remembrance Day and Veterans Day? Veterans Day in the United States is actually to honor the war veterans that have survived. So there's many parades and celebrations and honoring of the veterans that are still with us from any of the armed conflicts that they've been involved in. In the United States, in the spring, they have Memorial Day, and that honors those who have died in any of those armed conflicts or peacekeeping efforts. In Canada, Remembrance Day honors those who have died because of their service. So it used to be that Remembrance Day honored only those who actually died during their tours of duty, but now this year is actually commemorating those who have died because of their experience with their tours of duty. So it includes those who have died by suicide after they've returned home. In Canada, commemorations take place at the local cenotaphs and legions. During the days that lead up to Remembrance Day, we have Army cadets who stand guard at the cenotaphs to honor those who have died before them. At the 11th hour on November the 11th, wreaths will be laid at the cenotaph. Speeches will be provided to honor those who have died in armed conflict, as well as those who have died because of their experience afterwards. This year will be the first year that a mother will be honored with the Silver Cross because of her son dying after his tour of duty and dying by his own hand. In Canada, Remembrance Day is not a national holiday like Veterans Day is in the States. It is a banker's holiday, so the government is closed, the banks are closed, and employees who want to participate and yet work on the day of November the 11th can participate at the cenotaphs to honor Remembrance Day, or they can listen or watch on TV the many different ceremonies that are happening either locally or nationally in Ottawa. So poppies. How did poppies get involved with Remembrance Day? As that poem instilled, the poppies grew between the crosses. it was noticed that poppies grew in the battlefields of Belgium and France. Poppies were seen as a rejuvenation after chaos. So there's certain things you need to know about wearing a poppy. Poppies are worn on the left-hand side, and you can start wearing them from the last Friday of October all the way up to November the 11th after the ceremonies are completed. It's always on the left side above the heart, and this is my left side. And it needs to have a pin in the middle, not using any other button unless it's just a black button in the middle, just to commemorate the whole piece of that honoring of the poppy is just a pure poppy. So it will have a pin that goes through. Also at the Legion and some cenotaphs, you can actually buy a button pin that goes straight through that is black in the middle and then the red on the outside. The tradition of wearing poppies actually started in 1921. Mona Michael of New York started a campaign in order to start the tradition of wearing poppies to commemorate those who had died during World War I. By 1925, it was a tradition throughout Canada, and I believe also the United States, to wear a poppy in remembrance of World War I. And the Royal Canadian Legion actually utilized the wearing of a poppy, or the obtaining of a poppy, as a fundraiser for the Legion and services for veterans of World War I. That tradition continues today. It wasn't only Mona Michael that was involved in the campaign in order to create and wear the poppy for Remembrance Day or Veterans Day. It was also spearheaded in France by Anne Guerin. In researching this video, I was provided with family photos of family members that had participated in one of the wars. Stories were also provided to me, and these were stories of love and heroism and humanity and loss. And I had the opportunity to read a letter that was provided for a family member of mine from a close friend at the front. And it showed what his days were like and what that experience was actually like for him. And what really stands out for me from doing this research and reading all of these letters and knowing the stories is the unknown strength and heroism that individuals had during their experiences, during their tours of duty. And when you think about Remembrance Day or Veterans Day, it's not about glorifying the wars. It's about honoring those who participated in those armed conflicts and believed in a future, a free future for those that were either left behind or for themselves in their own future as they move forward. And when I think about that, I think about the poppy itself, about how it blooms after adversity. And it's a reminder for all of us that even after the most adverse things in our own life, we can bloom from that strength and be able to create that freedom that we are so longing for. Thank you for watching my video on Remembrance Day and Veterans Day. If you have more information or celebrations that you or your family have in your lives, please feel free to add that to the comments or the chat below. And feel free also to add your own stories. Thank you. And remember, you too can live strong and authentic lives.